Today I'm going to show you how to edit like 7th era in Lightroom. Welcome back to another Lightroom editing tutorial. Today we'll be talking about how to edit like Liam from 7th era in Lightroom. This is another video in my how to edit like series, so if you want to go check that out, I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. I've also done a video on how to edit like north borders, which you see in a lot of 7th era's videos. So I'll also have that link down below. Let's go ahead and look at Liam's Instagram to see what kind of images he's taking and his editing style. So if you look at his images, you can see a lot of like blue and orange, kind of like that teal and orange look. And he also likes to take images in the city, especially at night. So you can see he adds like that tealish tint in the shadows and likes to add that orangish red in the highlights. He also likes messing around with like city lights and uses like the trams and cars to his advantage, so he has a lot of like light trails and things like that, but overall kind of goes for that teal and orange look. So that's the look that we're going to be going for today. And now we're in Lightroom and this is the image that we're going to be editing today. You can see it's more like a darker city image, and you can see like the teal and blue I've added in the shadows, and I went for more like a red and orange look in the highlights and kind of added that teal and orange style look to the image. And so let's just look at a quick before. You can see it's pretty dark and you don't see that many like bright lights or that teal and orange look. It mostly has like a darker, more saturated red. And so this is the edit that we did, kind of made it more like a brighter teal and orange look and got it in a similar editing style to 7th era. And before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Lightroom editing tutorials, and let me know down in the comments below what other presets or videos you would like to see. I went ahead and made a virtual copy, just get started with a clean edit. First thing I want to do is start by decreasing the temperature. I want to get it more towards like that bluish look, so I want to do that. I'm also going to decrease the tint a little bit towards like a green, so add some more color there. I'm also going to increase the exposure quite a lot so you can see what I'm working with, and also bring out the details since the image was so dark when you get started. There we go. Also going to increase the contrast. 7th era adds a lot of contrast in his images. I'm doing that. Let's decrease the highlights so you can see a lot of like the signs and see some more details from there so they're not blown out. And then I'm going to increase the shadows so you can see some more details in the darker parts of the image. I'm going to decrease the white points so we can see some more from the bright signs. And then I'm going to decrease the blacks a little bit too. I'm going to increase the texture and then add some clarity so it's not too faded. And then also increase dehaze to get rid of that fading a little bit. And decrease the vibrance so the colors aren't too bright. You can see they're really saturated like reds and blues. But I'm going to bring some color back with the saturation. The main subject of the image is going to be this guy right here. So I'm going to take this radial filter right here and bring more focus on the person. I'm going to draw it an oval and then decrease the exposure. So that's going to decrease the exposure around him. I'm also going to decrease the highlights a little bit and then add some contrast. And so you can see from the before and after that made like a big difference, kind of focusing in on him. And to add more to that, I'm also going to add another radial filter and kind of brighten up the guy. So I'm going to bring it here and then increase the exposure so that kind of brings it up. You can see it brought it around here, but when I hit invert, that'll make it only appear in this area. So I'm going to brighten it up a little bit, not too much where you can see it's obvious, but just a little bit. And I can also decrease the highlights so it's a bit more subtle, and increase the shadows a little bit. There we go. And so it's just the basic settings you do quick before and after. Kind of brought up the exposure of the image and brought a little more focus to this person, which is going to be our subject today. Now I'm going to move on to the tone curve, kind of adding some more contrast and getting somewhat of a faded look to the image. So I'm going to start by doing 3 points, one in the shadows, midpoints, and highlights. And then I'm going to increase the black point, kind of crush the blacks a little bit, and then bring a point down to make the blacks a little darker. And I'm going to decrease this just a little bit. And increase the midpoint. a little bit over here, and then increase the highlights so you can see some more details up there, and then crush the whites. So you can see this added a lot of contrast to the image, but also made the colors really saturated, and we want to go for more like a desaturated teal and orange look. And so now we're going to be editing that with the HSL panel. So I'm going to start by correcting all the reds that you see over here. And so I'm going to bring this more towards like an orange, since Liam likes to have that teal and orange look. Also going to adjust the orange more towards like the orange, red. There we go. And then the yellows, I'm going to go towards more like a greenish, yellow-green. Now for the saturation, that will really start fixing up the reds and oranges. And desaturate the reds and then the oranges. And also going to desaturate the yellows a little bit too. I also want to make the reds darker since they are bright in this image. Reds, oranges, and then the yellows darker too. Alright, there you go. So I just kind of adjusted the reds, made them more like a subtle and more like towards that orange look. Now we're going to be adjusting like the greens, aquas, and blues, kind of fixing up these blues in the shadows. And so with the greens, I'm going to adjust that, increase that a little bit. And the aquas, I'm going to make it more towards like a teal. And then same with the blues, make that towards like a teal. Saturation, I'm going to desaturate the greens quite a lot. And then also desaturate the blues. Or aquas, I mean, and then the blues. Now I'm going to increase the brightness of the green so you can see that a little bit more. And then increase the brightness, luminance for aqua. But I'm going to decrease the blues, kind of make that a little bit darker. There we go. You can also see there's like some purple over here, which I don't really want. I want it more like a red, so I'm going to be adjusting the purple and magenta. I'm going to shift the purple more towards like the blue to get rid of that. And then I'm going to be adjusting the magenta parts towards like a red to make it like a... And then I'm going to adjust the magenta towards more like a red to get that desaturated red-orange look. There we go. I'm going to decrease the saturation of the purple so you don't really see it that much. And I'm also going to decrease the magenta so that's subtle. And then I'm going to make those two darker as well. There we go. So let's just look at a before and after. You can see a fixed of the colors, really brightened this before, and now they look a lot better and kind of getting closer towards how 7th Era edits. So now we're going to move on to split toning, kind of add that overall tint to the highlights and shadows. So I'm going to press Alt or Option, adjust the hue of the highlights. So for that one, I want to go more towards like that tealish look. I'm going to increase it up to here. And so I'm going to increase the saturation, add some color in the highlights. And then for the shadows, I'm going to be going for more of that orange look. There we go. And then increase the saturation there. So you may have noticed I did like a blue in the highlights and then the orange in the shadows. Normally you do like an orange in the highlights and blue in the shadows, but I switched it up on here and just kind of added that subtle color. So you can see a lot of the shadows are missing like the orange, and then the highlights needed some blues. Now we're going to move on to the details. Since this is a night image, you can see there's like a lot of grain in the image. I want to get rid of that. You can also see a lot of like the color noise as well. So first I'm going to sharpen the image so you can see some more detail. And then I'm going to mask that to the edges. You can do that by pressing Alt or Option. And you can see where you're masking it to. There we go. I'm also going to decrease the noise. And you can see in the preview the noise kind of went away. And then increase the contrast. And you also see there's like a lot of color noise too. So I want to decrease that as well. And so you can see that fixed a lot of the color noise as well. And add some detail and smooth it out a little bit. There we go. Now we're going to move on to the camera calibration, kind of fine tune the colors a little bit more. And so for the reds, I'm going to see looking more towards that orangish look, so I'm going to increase the reds. Then I'm going to desaturate them. For the greens, I'm going to increase the greens. Kind of made the blues and oranges a little darker. And then desaturate that. And for the blue primary, I want it more towards like that teal look, so I'm going to decrease it just a little bit. And then decrease the saturation. There we go. And so with the before and after on that, just kind of fine-tuned the colors and made it more towards like that teal and orange look. So this is the final edit. Let's just look at a quick before and after. You can see I really brightened up the image and added a lot of contrast and made it more like that teal and orange look. And so that's how you edit like 7th era in Lightroom. Thank you so much for watching today's tutorial on how to edit like 7th era in Lightroom. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe for more Lightroom editing tutorials. And let me know down in the comments below what other presets or videos you would like to see. Thanks for watching.